When the problem isn't your money habits, it's your income. There's something that almost never gets said clearly enough. Sometimes you're not bad with money. Sometimes you're not irresponsible, careless, or avoiding reality. Sometimes you're not making the wrong choices. Sometimes you simply don't earn enough for the world you're expected to function in. And that distinction matters more than most advice is willing to admit. Because nearly all money advice starts from the same hidden assumption that there is at least some room to work with. A bit of flexibility, a small buffer, some margin you can unlock if you try hard enough. But for many people, that margin doesn't exist at all. Not because they spend wildly, not because they don't plan, but because their income barely reaches the baseline. Rent, food, energy, transport. When those essentials already consume everything, there is no extra layer to optimize. There is no better system waiting underneath. There is only management and endurance. In that situation, budgeting doesn't feel empowering. It feels exhausting. Not because budgeting is wrong, but because every category is already fixed. You're not deciding how to spend. You're deciding what to go without. Every choice carries a consequence. Every decision closes another door. Not spending means missing out on something basic. Spending means risking something else breaking later. That isn't a discipline problem. That's arithmetic under pressure. This is where a lot of advice quietly collapses. Just cut back a little. Build an emergency fund. Be more disciplined. All of those suggestions assume spare capacity. They assume there is energy left to apply control. But discipline without margin isn't discipline. It's strain. And strain, when it lasts long enough, changes the way your mind operates. Living with constant financial scarcity puts your brain into survival mode. You stop thinking in years. You stop thinking in months. You think in days, sometimes in hours. You don't feel motivated. You feel alert, hyper-aware, always scanning for the next problem. That's not a mindset flaw. It's biology. Scarcity narrows attention. It shortens your horizon. It makes every decision feel urgent and heavy. And when everything feels urgent, nothing feels optional. So when someone says, you should be making better decisions, they're missing something fundamental. Better decisions require space, reflection, room for error, and space requires income that leaves something unclaimed. This is also why people in this situation often feel a quiet, persistent shame. Not because they've done something wrong, but because money culture moralizes struggle. If you're stressed, you must be failing. If you're behind, you must be irresponsible. But when income doesn't meet the cost of living, no amount of self-control fixes that. You can't mindset your way out of a math problem. Over time, this mismatch does something else too. It drains energy. When every month is a puzzle with no winning solution, you're not just financially tired. You're mentally tired. Decision fatigue sets in. Hope becomes expensive. Planning feels risky. Not because you lack ambition, but because planning assumes stability. And stability isn't something you're being given. That doesn't mean nothing can ever change. And it doesn't mean you're stuck forever. But it does mean this. Not all financial stress is psychological. Not all pressure is self-created. And not all problems live inside you. Sometimes, the system you're operating in is simply too tight to allow breathing room. And when that's true, the most damaging thing you can do is turn that pressure inward, blaming yourself for reacting normally to an unsustainable situation. If this is you, you're not failing. You're navigating a reality that leaves very little space to recover. And naming that reality accurately is not giving up. It's replacing self-blame with clarity. Because only then does the question change from what's wrong with me to why is this so hard in the first place? And that question is far more honest. Thank you for watching. If this helped you feel seen rather than judged, liking the video helps it reach others in the same situation. If you want to keep understanding what money does to you, you can subscribe here. Till next time.